We were really excited to do this because we're entering the summer, and we know that means a lot of downtime for our students, and we know whether they have electronics or not, they probably have access. So obviously you all know the importance of that, and that's why you're here. I also want to thank our board president, Mr. Reed. He's always supportive, very proactive in everything that he does, so I kind of figured he would be here tonight, so thank you, sir. All right, so I'm a father of a 7-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I'm super excited not only about our topics we're going to cover tonight, but I want to look you all in the eye about our presenters. We really have the best of the best here to present tonight, and I promise you that in about 30 seconds, I'm going to take off my FCUSD hat, and I'm going to put on my dad hat, and I'm going to sit in that audience and really hope to learn some strategies. We're going to be focusing on internet addiction. We're going to be focusing on a lot of the dangers we're seeing in our own backyard. And we're going to also talk about some strategies that we can do to try and keep our students safe, right? I don't know if there's anything more important than safety of our children, whether that's emotional safety or physical safety. So I want to introduce a good friend of mine, also been an amazing advocate for our kids, SRO Bates. SRO Bates has been a police officer for 22 years and has been working as our SRO for the last 6 years right here in Folsom. He has 2 kids that attended and one that still does attend Folsom schools. He has a unique experience and perspective as a parent, police officer, and assisting school administrators. And he's going to really focus on what he is seeing day in and day out in our own backyard. So, SRO Bates.
Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. This is so important for parents. I know as a parent, I was completely lost with everything to do with the internet and social media. I mean, obviously Facebook, because I'm old, so that's what I use. But all the stuff that the kids are using now, it is tough to keep up. So hopefully I know we are gonna shed some light on that for you guys, because that could be overwhelming as parents. What we're seeing in the schools is just the continued use of social media to bully one another. Cyberbullying, hate speech, as well as using like Snapchat is a really popular one to use to find drugs, whether it's just vaping nicotine or marijuana or other pills. It's really super, it's at their fingertips. And I think we as parents are kind of in the dark sometimes on what really goes on with our kids and social media and what they're saying. And it can be a completely different kid than the one that you've lived with for the past 13, 14 years. The biggest thing is still sending inappropriate pictures to each other, especially the middle schoolers. It's calmed down a little bit in high school, or at least they're not reporting it. But that was a huge problem at the beginning of all this. So we actually have been, the last 5 years, probably going into the schools and doing presentations to all the kids, in addition to the once a year, except for COVID, that we do for the parents. We also go into the middle schools. We've even incorporated the elementary schools. We go to the 5th graders. We hit usually 5th, 7th, and then we partner with the DA to hit the 10th graders. But we do a whole presentation for an hour long to each class about internet safety, about being safe on the internet from strangers and from predators, and then also just being a responsible person and not doing those things that's going to cost them maybe their school career because they're going to do something to get themselves expelled or lose a scholarship or lose future jobs and that kind of thing. So we just got done. I just finished up at Vista today, hitting every school in the Folsom area. And we'll continue to do that because we do see results from that, and kids do remember. And the biggest thing is keeping them informed and educated so they can make those decisions. So when they're sitting in the principal's office because they messed up, because everyone messes up and makes mistakes, then they know. Do you remember when we talked about that? Yeah, I remember. And we can help them recover from those mistakes because everyone makes them, and we encourage kids to report stuff. If it's something that makes them feel weird or icky or uncomfortable, to report it to a parent, an adult they trust. So we just keep hammering in that message every year, and that seems to have been very effective just in the reporting rates alone. So as far as that goes, that's pretty much what we what we're seeing in schools right now. So I want to defer the rest of my time to Detective Hirota.
Thank you. All right, so next up, we have Detective Hirota, who works with the Sacramento Sheriff's Office, and she's been working there for 20 years. She's worked as the Internet Crimes Against Children detective for the last 9 years, and is on the FBI Violent Crimes Against Children Task Force. So this is what she's doing day in and day out. She also has her partner from Homeland Security, Special Agent Kate Thomas. So again, I'm gonna pass it over to Detective Hirota, and she has a 2-hour presentation that she's gonna need a week. But I really encourage you, please save your questions, because we do wanna, I wanna hear what your questions too, so we know how to better prepare. So.
Like he said earlier, thank you guys so much for coming today. I appreciate it, because I know you guys are super busy. I noticed that there's no kids in here, it appears, so I'm just gonna be saying things that you normally wouldn't hear, just because we need to know that we need to keep our heads out of the sand and just know that these types of things are happening. And this PowerPoint has changed because we've had so many incidents. I mean, it's been happening since I've been there for 9 years, but the last several months have been absolutely crazy with children between like 6 and 13 years old who are being sextorted right here in our backyard. So we're gonna talk about some stuff that's pretty raw here. We're gonna have a couple surveys and stuff. So if you wanna get your cell phone out and make sure that you have the brightness turned all the way up. And then if you take your cell phone and point it to one of the QR codes when it comes up, if it's not picking up the link, then you can go ahead and just take your fingers and blow up your camera screen, and it should pick it up. And then you can participate in some of the surveys. In addition to that, there's going to be QR codes for resources on slides as well. So if you want to get those QR codes as we go, it'll be in your phone in your web browser. So later on, you'll have like 15 web browsers that you can surf at night when you're in bed, which I don't recommend. But if you want to do that at night, that's when I do my best surfing, is at night before I go to bed. So today, you guys all saw the topics that we're going to talk about today. Real life scenarios, things that we can do to keep our kids safe. So for this type of thing, it's happening to all kids, all races, all socioeconomic backgrounds. And one thing that's really stands out to me is that doing these investigations and listening to our partner, Dan Heaton, who's got this really big case, you might have saw on the news the last couple weeks, where our suspect was portraying himself to be I think 12 or 13-year-old girl named Lizzie. He would be on the phone calling parents from across the United States on speaker, and he would tell them, this is what I have. And they're like, my kid would never do this. No, that's not my kid. So he sends a screen capture of their face, sends screen captures of their couch, their bathroom floor, and they're like, okay, I guess it is my kid. So, and if you were to tell me today that my kid was taking pictures, as much as I do this job and she knows well what I do, and I've trained her really well, if you told me she was taking pictures of herself inappropriately in the bathroom, it wouldn't surprise me, just because these kids, once they get on the internet, things just kind of take over their brains, unfortunately. Another thing too is when I'm listening to these phone calls, the parents instantly, while he's on the phone with the detective, the parent or the dad will start yelling at his kid on the phone. What, did you take pictures of yourself naked? And that's one thing we have to remember, because most of us didn't grow up with cell phones, right? Most of us did not grow up with cell phones, with pagers. So, except Caitlin, I think, had a cell phone. So, so remember, this is a learning experience for you as parents, for me, and this has been really humbling for me, let me tell you, these last couple months during COVID, because now my kid is 10 and I'm dealing with this, and I'm like, I'm not looking forward to the next several years. It has been eye-opening for me, because I give these presentations to people and now I'm living it, and it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare. So just know that the kids make mistakes, and we need to be able to be open to our children, to be able to communicate to them and have a safe place to come and talk to you. So of course we want to make these teachable moments. We want to be empathetic to them and not yelling and screaming. I mean, you probably will yell and scream at them, but at some point be empathetic to the situation that they're in, because if they get into this situation again, they're probably not going to come to you and talk to you. So let's start off with our first poll question. Again, you can use your phone camera to blow up the QR code, or you can go to slido.com, and then it'll ask you for a password, and it's hashtag ICAC. ICAC. I know it's really bright in here, so it's hard to see this thing. And it's funny that Mitch was talking about doing presentations at schools. Well, when I used to do this, I originally started in 2013. We were doing high school students. Now I won't even waste my time doing high school students. Now I don't even want to do middle school students. We're starting off at like 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. That's where we need to start with this now. Not even middle school at this point, because they're way far past at this point. So it looks like a lot of our kids are between 11 and 13, then the other part, 9 to 10. And if you have kids that are 5 and under, obviously you need to pay attention to this, because I'm sure you're giving iPads to your kids, and as they get older, we want to build on the information that we provide to them. So one of the things is some parents, and there's an article in the Washington Post that just came out, there's a group of parents who are not letting their kids have devices or social media. I get it, because a lot of us didn't have it. But you can't really say, you can't have devices, you can't have social media, because that's what kids are doing. I mean, that's the thing. So you just have to find an even balance that I'm still trying to figure out myself. Because I'm at the point where I just want to chuck that iPad across the room and just be done with it. But we have to be realistic, and that's just the way of the world now. So I know that the light's so bright in here. But if you can see this, it's like we had no idea how good we had it, and no clue that we were the last ones to be outside riding bicycles. So that's one of the things, we got to get our kids out there and to play. I saw this meme and I thought it was hilarious. Taking a selfie with an old school phone. So all of our kids nowadays, I mean, everywhere you go, they're all buried with their heads, in their devices. So typically we're talking about cell phones, but what other devices are our kids using? There was supposed to be a poll question, but it didn't show up. So the other types of devices that we're seeing are obviously iPads, old cell phones that are no longer taking cellular service, but they're taking Wi-Fi connected to your home. So if you think it's not working, it is. Gaming devices, tablets, Chromebooks, Xboxes, watches. Anybody, is there anything I'm missing? Yeah, school Chromebooks, remind me to talk about that. Yeah, it just came up there. So one of the things, a lot of the kids we do presentations, they feel like having a cell phone is like a requirement. Like in life, we're only supposed to give you water, shelter, and clothing. And it doesn't even have to be nice clothing. Because when I used to work patrol, we're like, you don't even have to have nice clothes. Like you can just have a white t-shirt and blue jeans every day, and you can eat rice every day. But having a cell phone is obviously a privilege for our kids. So, this is working. So let's try this poll question. How old was your child when they first got a cell phone that is their very own? So not one that they borrow, not one that they commandeer that's yours. Hopefully this works. 5, 6, interesting, okay. So some of the questions we always get are, what is a good age to have, your child get a cell phone? And it typically is gonna be based on kind of their maturity level on how they handle things. So if you notice that when you give your kid an iPad and then you take it away from them and they get super upset and start arguing with you and start yelling with you, throwing a fit, laying their body on the ground flat, as I've seen it, then that's probably a sign that they probably shouldn't get a cell phone right now. And I know I saw my nephew do it and I was like, oh my gosh. So that's the thing is, and so they have to be mature enough to be able to handle obviously disappointment, because if they were to go on social media and they made a posting on one of their accounts and they don't get a bunch of likes and they get really upset, or if you see them excessively checking their phone constantly, or if they're always on the phone, just think about those things in terms of deciding if you're going to give them a phone or not to have on their own. So one of the things is, so when you give your kids these cell phones, we don't have to worry about the boogeyman anymore looking through your window. I know when I grew up, I used to worry about that, like someone looking through my window. But you don't have to worry about that anymore because you have your daughter and son's cell phone in their room. You've got their iPad in their room. So that's where the boogeyman is actually going to come into their room. So So when I always tell this to parents, when you give your kids a cell phone or device that connects to the internet, you are literally giving the world, access to your child. The entire world is having access to your child. Some of these cases that we're dealing with are suspects living in another country, and he has been extorting this poor child for photos all across the country. And it sucks when that happens because we can't do anything about that when they're in another country. Caitlin here can kind of do some stuff, but it depends which country, if they even have an ICAC, Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, to do these types of investigations. So just remember that. Just keep that in mind when you give your kids these devices in their bedroom with the door shut and they're 6. And I'm only telling you from, things that we know. So that's the same thing. So we have to start treating these devices as if it's something really important, because it is. When you give your keys to the car that you just got your kids when they're 16 with the big bow, or I don't know, maybe make them earn their car. They go to driving school, they learn how to drive, you give them direction on how to do it. Well, that's what has to happen with the cell phone. I know it sounds crazy, but you really do. You have to find the time, take the time to talk to your children about the rules of having devices and what you do on the social media accounts and the internet to protect them, just like you would when they're driving. Be a defensive driver when you drive. So what we do is we investigate child sexual abuse material. We used to call it CP, child pornography, but in the industry we're changing it because these photos are actual sexual abuse material. It is children being sexually brutalized. They're crime scene photos of children involved in sex with adults or other children. So our goal is to identify, locate these children and rescue them. So last week we rescued a 2-year-old. So that's what we do. And we work with federal partners like HSI, FBI, and Folsom PD. We've got Detective Tebow, who's just joined our team. I'm not going to go over this all the way, but just so you know, there is a method to the madness of what's going on with the Department of Justice, with the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency, the Adam Walsh Act. All of those acts and organizations have come together over the years and have added on to each other to combat child exploitation. And so the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, also I'm going to only say NCMEC from now on, the ones that had the children missing on the back of the milk cartons, they had that program in place set up already for missing children. So they just integrated the cyber tips that they get from all of the electronic service providers by law. Every person, Google, Dropbox, TikTok, Kik, all of them are required by law to report images of child sexual abuse material in addition to any conversations that they come across on their servers, or if a citizen reports that they came across a photo or a conversation, or a parent might report that their kid's been chatting with somebody because they discovered it on their phone. They're required by law to report that to NCMEC. NCMEC will in turn figure out what agency, based on the IP, Internet Protocol address, to determine where they're going to send it, what law enforcement agency. So the Sacramento Sheriff's Office is I guess you can call the clearinghouse for this area. So in California, we've got five ICACs, where other states only have 1. So here in the blue, that's the area we cover, which is pretty big. So if any of those ICACs, little small towns, need help with their warrants, we will go help them and we educate them on how to do these. And we're duly sworn as U.S. Marshals, so we can do federal cases. So if you ever come across any laws that are being implemented or changed in California, try to be cognizant of it, because people who get possession of child pornography, of CSAM, are getting like work project. They're getting work project, or they're getting ankle monitor, okay? This is ridiculous. We do all this work. It's worse than a homicide, the cases that we do, in terms of the work that we have to do. We have to write a ton of search warrants, we have to go through all the devices, and they get work project. So that's why we try to get good cases. We try to go federal because, like, for example, possession is a mandatory minimum of 5 years. So it's a significant difference in terms of what they get. So last year, our task force in Sacramento, the blue, we served 54 warrants just for Sacramento and, Citrus Heights, Rancho Cordova, Folsom, Roseville, Rockland, San Joaquin. 54. We served residential into people's homes for CSAM material. So our cyber tips for our task force have gone up significantly. So 2016, we only had 1,569. Now we're, it's 6,600. We have 2 people who manage our cyber tips and go through them. We have 2 annuitants who write search warrants for us to be able to go into these electronic service providers so we can get the information we need, the content to determine who is the person that's looking at child porn or the CSAM or the person who's chatting with your child. So it's become such a huge production now. Because when I first got there was 4 detectives and we're trying to cram to do all this stuff. Now we have our partners that we work with and we have retired people helping us. So the cyber tip line, we kind of already talked about it, what they do. Social media, just in me doing this PowerPoint updating over the last 2 weeks, it has changed. So with the social media, because one of the things it says we're going to talk about all the popular apps. Well, apps are constantly changing, and for us to keep up with them is near impossible. So I'm going to give you the ones that we commonly get cyber tips on, or ones that the patrol officers call us for. If there's any other apps, I'd be glad to know what apps your kids are using. But there are so many apps, when we get a call from patrol, if it's one that we don't know about, we literally will just Google it. We will Google and figure it out. I will put it on my tablet and I will figure out, how does this thing work? What do I need to do so I can maneuver through it? So apps in general are not bad, just like the internet's not bad. Social media is not bad, but when it's used in a certain way, then of course it's bad and dangerous. So, obviously we know there's so many apps, we can't keep track of them. Many of the apps you're required to be 13 or under 13. So we all know that some of our kids are still logging in, pretending to change their age. So we know that, right? This is kind of on a side note. This COPA law, if you wanted to scan it, that bottom right-hand QR code is for companies that qualify to make sure that children's under 13's privacy is being taken care of. And so, just because it has a seal that they do doesn't mean that, there always can be issues, but in terms of the way that they protect children's information. So, because you can't go onto social media or the internet and post information that's identifying about anybody under 13. You can't do it. Like, you can't do it, your neighbor can't do it, and if they do, you've got to protect your children's privacy. We have another, what do you call it? Survey. So it looks like YouTube is definitely the culprit here. TikTok and Snapchat, which we suspected. Discord. Roblox. Yeah, finally Roblox is up there. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead, is everyone done? Because I'm going to go ahead and go forward. Very interesting. So that's pretty much what we thought. In the interest of time, I have to go forward. So Roblox, just show of hands, just because so I can see how many people their kids use Roblox. Yeah, pretty much everybody. I tried to get on there today I can't even move the person 1 foot forward. Okay, have you tried it? Have you guys tried it? It's so hard. So Roblox, about 2 years ago, my partner here at Folsom, before Tebow, had a case where somebody was at the skate park, where the dog park is, trying to meet children. And when he did, he was having them go on Roblox to play games, to groom them, which we'll talk about later. And he asked me if I can go on there and chat with this suspect so we can get information and try to do whatever it is that he wanted to do, but with us. I could not figure out how to walk in there. So I tried to have a conversation to try to get some information. And if you've been on there, it's near impossible to talk about things like, if you ask certain things on there, it'll cross it out. Have you guys noticed that? So I feel like Roblox is doing better, and a lot of these electronic service providers are doing better about trying to protect children. So Roblox is just a game where you go in there and you play games that people have made. The one thing that they do is check for algorithm of the clothing, or to make sure that they've got clothing on. So if they see a bunch of like skin tone, that means that person is probably not wearing very much clothes. So they'll go in there and check it to make sure that if the child is noted as 13 and under and they've got like a bikini on, that they're likely to send a message to remove that. Do your kids use Robux? Yeah, I know. My kid wants to do chores for Robux. I'm like, this is like not tangible. This is like a virtual place. We can't even like get what we need. Oh, so there's a sheet that we're gonna have at the end that's got a bunch of QR codes, but if you want, there's a couple different really good places for information on Roblox blocks if you can see it, if it's coming up. If not, don't worry, there's a sheet. But some of the ones that are on here are not on my sheet because I added them last minute. So one thing is if you were to go on there and see your kid playing, because I'm always sitting next to my kid looking to see what she's doing, I didn't know this, but on the top it'll say 13. You'll see it there on the, okay. Anyway, you'll see somewhere on the, oh, I was trying to show a picture. Yeah, thank you. So over here it says 13 plus or under 13. So if you see your kid playing and there's something that says 13 plus, I don't know if they should be playing with that person. So just know that it's clearly on there, kind of where the profile is. And there's another Roblox QR code here. You just need to sit down with your kid like I did the other night, because this thing has changed. This Roblox has changed. So when I was trying to chat with that person, I couldn't get what we needed because I was trying to move this person onto a different app so I could chat with them better, and it just was not working, which I guess is a good thing for all of us. It won't let you say things like, where do you live? Things like that. So for example, see the X right there? That's what it does, is it X's it out for you. So if you see quite a bit of that in the conversation, probably just have your kid get out of that room. I didn't know this either, but Roblox now has a family pairing, so you can see what your kid is doing. So when you go to Roblox, there's another thing up there, Roblox parent safety tips. It should direct you to this family pairing where you can see what your kid is doing. Log in as the parent. So just like when I was growing up, my dad would always read manuals to the stereo and the refrigerator. I do that now, but I can see why. This is exactly what it is. You have to go and read about all this stuff to understand how this all works. TikTok. Whose kids have TikTok? TikTok is, I will tell you, TikTok is not good. I don't like to say that about apps, but TikTok is not good. So TikTok used to be 15 seconds. They've now, I don't know if they've done it yet, but it was in beta to move it to 10 minutes, okay? So the problem with TikTok and the problem with YouTube is obviously the content on there is sexual in nature, it's inappropriate, and children who are being exposed to that type of stuff at a younger age, I'm noticing, become, and our other person will talk about it, but they become depressed, they have anxiety, they have risky behavior. So I know that there are some states that are working on suing TikTok because of the content on there. So I went on there twice in the last couple days. I don't have it on my phone, I just logged in for the first time. And these are the things that I saw. So, and this is what's funny. I had mine in restricted mode. See that circle up there? That doesn't matter. Restricted mode does not matter because I'm a toxic person, mother effer, people. This guy over here, you can't see it really well, he's doing squats with his, like, it's just sexual in nature, like just all over the camera, his buttocks. This chick here, she's got her, can you get the pointer? I don't know if it's gonna work. She's got her legs spread open. This one is, you are strong as F. You're a BI. This chick right here's got her boobs hanging out. Let's see. You can insert a tampon in for the first time if you do it properly. I wanna F and die. I hate it. These are like the things that kept popping up in between, like how to, bake a casserole. So I'm like, okay, so I had to screen capture these for you. Okay, so I went in again today. That's where I got this, one of these from today. So I went in, the one on the top there, what does masturbation? So then there was one I saw, I couldn't snapshot it because I missed it, but it was a Disney cartoon. Because sometimes you lean over your kid and you're like, oh, there's a Disney thing, go back to what you're doing. But then I started playing it and it was like, you know, all that. It was like that. And I was like, holy smokes. So if you see a cartoon, don't think automatically that's what it is on TikTok. So just know that you probably should not have your children on TikTok. Now, if your kids are gonna be on TikTok, or if you wanna give it to them when they're, you know, I would say 14 maybe, you're gonna have to change the algorithm. And there's some slides about that, but I'll talk about it now. So one of the things is you just gotta go in there and you gotta keep disliking the inappropriate ones. Then you gotta go in there and start liking the good ones. Like today, I bought this little thing that hangs off my sink I found on there that was cool. There's all kinds of cool stuff. I have friends who swear by TikTok who love it because they get really great products that they buy. They get really good, you know, how to make things and how to do things. But to get that to that point, you got to really work on the algorithm to get it so that it's not having all these bad things that are on there originally right off the get. So that's the same thing with YouTube. I know our children are glued to YouTube. That's another thing. It's the inappropriate things that they are seeing on there and these rabbit holes. So there's 2 more QR codes. One of them is for the safety information you can get. And I know it seems like such a pain in the butt to have to do this, but you really need to sit down and you need to read this stuff because that's the only way you're going to learn how to figure out and maneuver this. I know that there's YouTube Kids, but every kid says, oh, it's boring, it doesn't let me do anything. Okay, that's the whole point. But I just discovered this the other day that now the regular YouTube has a family link function. Did anybody know that? It's really cool because now you can set up this account through Google. So you're gonna set up your child's Google account and you're gonna verify it and it's gonna connect to you and then you're gonna, because Google owns YouTube. You guys know that, right? And then it's gonna allow you to customize your child's experience on YouTube based on their age. So it can be age appropriate. So it'll allow you to add certain features if they're 10, and then when they're 11, you can add another feature. But it'll set timers on there, so if your kid's on there after an hour, it'll shut off. Obviously, you can view their activity. You can choose what they're seeing. You can share video and stuff with your children as well. And then, so that, again, some of the attributes are gonna be disabled, and it's up to you to add those back if you want to. And there's no ads, because that's one of the parts of the COPPA is providing ads to children. And it also includes the music part of YouTube. So I think that's the best bet. Not so much YouTube Kids, I think that is the best bet. So they'll still get, you know, some stuff, but not hopefully the sexual stuff. Snapchat, you know, does kids have Snapchat? Yes, okay. So the problem with Snapchat, obviously, is the kids believe that once they take a photo, it's gonna disappear. Well, 1, we know that it can be screen captured. Number 2, if we do a forensics on your phone, we probably can get it. But no, Snapchat is the problem because kids feel like it's like a false safeness that they can take photos and it's gonna be gone, and it's not. So we just need to explain to our kids that that's not the case. And again, they should probably be like 14, 15 if they're gonna have Snapchat on their devices. But for all of these apps that we've talked about, you need to go into the settings part and you just need to start at the top and read it and then make all those settings private. Make it so that information is not collected. Just go through and read it, and by just reading it alone, you'll kind of have an understanding of what it is that you need to do to protect your child. You'll be able to do that. But then you have to remember they're constantly upgrading these apps. So maybe once a month, maybe every 2 months if you're gonna do it, better than never, and just go through the attributes again, because I know all of us old people have Facebook. right? And you log in one day and it's all different and they've changed it and like, where's this button? So same thing, you just have to go through and check all these things. The other issue with Snapchat is the ghost mode. So I believe when I logged in the other day, it automatically showed me my location, right? So you need to go in there and turn off ghost mode. When I did this PowerPoint last time, it looked different. Now it looks different again. So you need to make sure that it's on, because otherwise, this is what it looks like from the world view, and then as you pinch it in closer to like Sacramento, it gets closer. And so what those little bubbles are people in those areas sending snaps and their whole entire account's open, and plus you can see pretty much where they are. And then as you get closer, the blue little bubble, and then if you keep on blowing it up, you can click on it and you'll see the person sitting in the parking lot at Walmart making a video. So make sure that your kids and yours, to be honest with you, should be always in ghost mode or any other app that has settings for location. You need to turn them off. Omegle, has anybody heard of Omegle? Okay, this is a bad site. That's the second bad site. The reason I say that, this is me right here. I logged into this because I like to use fresh material so you know that it's all right up. You log into Omegle, and it's talking to strangers. That's their punchline, talk to strangers. And you just start talking. And I'm just talking to this person, and all of a sudden he's asking me if I'm horny. I'm like, I'm just saying hi, hello. So kids know about this, and they will go on sleepovers, and they will go on the computer, and they will do this because they think it's funny. And then they'll start having these conversations. People are laughing because they know that they've caught their kid doing it. So you just need to make sure that this is not on their computer, or if you see it, have a conversation with them, because do not just lie to them and tell them it's a virus so that they don't go on there. What's that? Oh, yes, and that's the problem. So yes, thank you. You can video chat on this and take pictures. So when we're in this undercover class, this is one of the programs that we are working with, and in class, all of a sudden, this big old you-know-what shows up on the screen. Like, it's just instantly. So keep your kids off that. I know some people mentioned Kik, Meet Me, and Discord. These are just chatting apps. I'm not going to get into them, but just know that they're chatting apps, and there's really, to be honest with you, there is no reason that any child should have these apps. If they want to chat with somebody, they can pick up the phone, they can text them on the text option that's on your phone, but these are just invitations for bad things to happen. A lot of our cyber tips are coming from Kik, Discord, and Snapchat, and Instagram, where kids are on there doing their thing, and all of a sudden they get a message from somebody. Okay, can you play this real? Oh wait, is it gonna play?
Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, ICAC, received a cyber tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children pertaining to an online account suspected of uploading child sexual abuse material onto the internet. On December 1st of 2021, the Internet Crimes Against Children Unit of the Sacramento Valley High-Tech Crimes Task Force executed a search warrant at the residence of 24-year-old Demetrius Carl Davis, a resident of Sacramento County. Numerous screen recordings were discovered stored on Davis's digital devices depicting children engaged in sexual acts. David is suspected of generating numerous fictitious social media accounts portraying himself as a prepubescent female child named Lizzie. Davis used these accounts to befriend and communicate with children on the internet in order to groom them. Investigators believe Davis spoke to his victims in sexually explicit language, as well as sending them videos of child pornography. After establishing a relationship with the child, Davis would direct them to produce child pornography depicting themselves engaging in sexual acts with their siblings and other children known to them. Through forensic analysis, investigators uncovered numerous files of child pornography stored within Davis's cellular telephones and accounts with which he was communicating. Multiple potential victim accounts have been identified. To date, over 80 child victims have been positively ID'd in the U.S. The United States Department of Homeland Security is working with investigators and assisting with identification of more than 15 victims believed to reside internationally. The victims vary in age, but are typically prepubescent children between the ages of 6 and 13 years of age.
Story. So the other problem we have is children that are gaming. So they're on Xbox, they're playing Fortnite, Clash of Clans, Among Us, Halo, Call of Duty. So the problem with these in Minecraft is just the chatting function. The moral of the story is do not let your children chat on these. I know they do, they want, but if they're chatting with their friends, that's great. But I just really recommend they don't chat, because that's where a lot of our cases can start from. They're on these gaming sites, they're chatting, they're playing games. All of a sudden, whoever they're chatting with says that they're 13, say, hey, do you have a Kik account, or do you have a Snapchat, or whatever? They share information, they start chatting on these apps, then they move to texting on their telephone, then they start talking, and then they start FaceTiming. That is literally the cycle of how this occurs with these kids, just playing video games. I don't have time to play that. So having your kids use any of those apps that we talked about, the problem that we're having, again, I kind of mentioned it, was the anxiety. Your children, for example, like TikTok and YouTube, they're making videos, they're accepting those challenges, and one of them was, what was it? It was touching your teacher and videotaping it, or the slap contest in the bathroom. So when they watch these TikToks, they want to emulate them. So they'll go in the bathroom and they'll start slapping somebody, and then they'll cause a fight. Suicide and self-harm. That's another thing. So everybody, including you as adults, should have your accounts private. I know that's not a sure 100% thing that's going to keep you safe, but it's one little element to continue. Because when you have your entire Facebook open and we can see what you're doing, where you were last week in your car, we get all kinds of great information from Facebook. So you need to make your accounts private and your children's private. Your kids, any apps that they have, you need to keep them on your phone and log in as them. Sometimes it won't let you, so then, because it won't let you do it from 2 different devices, but you can, some apps will. So you can try to do that. If not, at least whatever app it is, Snapchat, then just make sure you go to their device and check to see what they're doing regularly. Every single week, I go through my kid's phone and I check for everything that's on there. Granted, they can delete stuff, but sometimes they might mess up and forget. Again, like I said earlier, the restricted mode is a joke. It doesn't really work all the time, so just make sure that you gotta try and change the algorithms. You always need to tell your kids, do not accept followers you don't know. And although there's a person that asks to be your friend, and you see, oh, this person's got 10 of my friends, they must be okay, I'm gonna accept them. Kids say it all the time. Tell your children, do not accept anybody that they do not know face to face. Because it never fails. All these kids we talk to, oh, well, I saw that, all my friends were friends with them. No, do not do that. Because sometimes those are fake accounts, and they friended your other friends, and they thought the same thing. So by then, we've got this suspect who's pretending to be 13, named Lizzie, who's infiltrating all of your friends. That's exactly what he did. He friended all these kids. So again, if you have an app and you don't know anything about it, just Google it. Google is your best friend. That's how I do most of my house projects, on YouTube and Google. That's how I do everything. So, okay, we're going to skip bullying. Bullying would include fights at school, being posted on social media sites like Instagram, kids saying mean things to each other. Granted, sticks and stones will hurt my, bones, but names will never hurt me. Well, actually, they do hurt people, especially if you're being harassed, that type of thing. And it carries from school to home, and kids have anxiety, and kids can kill themselves as a result of it. There's really 2 good sites. Stop Bullying, that QR code, and there's one after this. Those are going to be on the little sheets. Tebow, do you have those sheets with you? Could you just pass them around if people want to scan those? So just know that cyberbullying, there's not really a crime right now for cyberbullying. We have to use other codes like harassment, Spreading rumors about people, embarrassing photos like at a sleepover when someone's sleeping, lift the blankets up, those things you need to talk to your kids about. They seem funny, but they're not. These can cause kids to kill themselves. Sunnyvale had a huge rash of kids killing themselves because of cyberbullying. So we don't want that to happen because school discipline, criminally you can be charged if someone kills themselves potentially, or civilly. Parents got sued for their kids harassing or telling other kids to kill themselves. So just make sure you tell your kids before they post anything, this applies to some adults actually too. Before you post anything, make sure that you think about what you post, because sometimes when you post it, you may not be able to get it back. I know you should be able to delete it sometimes, but the internet is always crawling and saving stuff. There's a website called Wayback that is crawling the internet and saves everything on there. So stuff you might delete is still there for a minute. You just got to find it. So again, there's lots of codes for harassment. There's actually a code for revenge porn. Posting, identifying information about a child or creating a fake social media account. That seems to be a big thing on Instagram. Kids will go to bully somebody and they'll create a fake account with their name and their face. That's actually a crime. And then we also use the code of identity theft because when someone uses your checkbook or takes your ID or something, we use that same exact thing for social media too, until we can get more penal codes that are pinpointed to our crimes. Sexting is okay for adults, okay? It's okay for you to sex with your adult, but it is not okay for a child to sex technically with another child. And it's not okay for a child to be sexting with an adult. Sexting is sending inappropriate photos or having sexually explicit conversations. Normally that's what we call is sending harmful matter to a child if your kid is doing that. So to avoid this, you just need to talk to your kids and tell them to never send photos of themselves nude to anybody, not to a boyfriend, not to anybody. You shouldn't even have them in your cell phone because when you have a sleepover and you're sleeping or you're in the shower, one of your girlfriends happens to know your password, finds it, sends it to herself only because this has happened before, that's why I'm telling you this. Sends it to herself, and then it ends up all over the internet, and then that girl has to leave that school because she's suicidal. So do not take any photos of yourself, period, at all. And this right here, this QR code, if you ever find out later, if your images have been on, a minor's images have been on the internet somewhere, typically when you go to that site like Instagram or whatever, and you report it, and if you say that they're a minor, they will take it down instantly. They should take it down. This is a place where you can go and they will help from NCMEC. They'll help remove your images off the internet. So there's the QR code thing's going around, and when you see it, it should say something, take your images off the internet. We're gonna forget that. Can you go play that video real quick? Nope, not that one. Actually, I'm not going to play it. Sextortion. This is the biggest problem that we're having. So sextortion is when somebody asks for images of you, or they threaten you because they ask for images from you, or they'll ask for money from you. It is crazy that these suspects are asking 10-year-olds for money. If you don't send me, oh gosh, please don't say that's the end. If you don't send me photos, now the new thing is they're asking children to send gift cards. These poor children are sending their Christmas gift cards. They're scratching them off, sending a picture of it to these suspects if they don't send photos of themselves. So one of the things they'll do is, a couple things what they'll do is they'll go into these apps, they'll start chatting with your kid. Hopefully the kid will ignore them. So that's why you need to tell your kids, if anybody you don't know starts chatting with you, you need to ignore them and tell you. Number two, they'll start phishing and just sending messages out to random kids. Hi, waiting for that one kid who's having a bad day and just starts talking to them. And this person, like Lizzie, will pretend that they're 13 and start having conversations with you. And they'll start grooming you. Oh, you look pretty. Oh, you look nice. Oh, I'm sorry your parents are so mean. And they start building out relationship with your child. And then they'll say, hey, if you don't, can you send me a photo? So the kid does. She'll send like a face photo. Can you send me another photo? No. Well, if you don't, I'm going to tell your parents that you sent nude photos of yourself. So what he'll do is he'll take the photo that she took of herself, He'll place it onto a naked child that he got from somewhere else. By then, he's already friended you and he's already seen all your friends. So he's got all your friends, and then he'll send a blast photo of you, your face, and you nude, and it's not you. And so kids, this happens all the time. They think, oh, this person's gonna go away. So the person next asks, can you do a sex act video? And they think, okay, if they do this, they're gonna go away. And they do not go away. Tell your children they do not go away. They will continue for years. We had a case here in Folsom where the guy was sextorting girls across the country, and Detective Roberry at the time reached out to these girls from 5 years ago when they were doing this. And we finally caught the guy, and these girls were sextorted. They never told anybody. And unbeknownst to some of these parents, when we finally reached out to them, they're like, no wonder, that explains a lot, because my kids been having issues. Kids are being sextorted for images. So to keep it simple, to tell your kids, one, do not talk to people you don't know. Do not take photos of yourself. If somebody that you don't know reaches out to you, you need to block them and tell you. And you need to tell your kids that if somebody says that they have photos of you, don't believe them. Just don't freak out. And if they did send one photo, it's okay. Come and talk to you so that doesn't get worse, where they're asking you to do things with brushes and curling irons and things like that, because that's how it gets. All these kids that we talk to. And then, so I had actually a friend. This is another thing, is I've had so many people I know. The kid was doing video chatting with this person, thinking she was a girl, and she wasn't. And so they saved the video and sent it to all his friends. So that's the other thing. Because although you're chatting with this person, you're like, oh, this has to be real. We're doing this live. No. They have ways to make it so that they look like they're live, but they're not. And that's the thing, is the kids don't think about, they think that they're gonna be embarrassed, humiliated, and their parents are gonna be mad at them, but that's the thing, is like, if you keep an open communication and let your kids know, if this type of thing happens, they need to come to you. They need to know that it's okay to come to you. So we kind of already went through that. Did that. So grooming, there's online grooming. Again, we already kind of talked about it. You look nice, you look pretty. Then there's physical grooming that happens with sports, potentially a coach, when they start giving the child gifts. So if you start getting gifts that are unusual, then that's a problem. We've got quite a few cases where that happens, or they send you an Amtrak ticket. So just, if you want to show your kids these pictures, like, okay, this is who they think they're talking to, but they're really talking to Joshua here. This was a gaming site. So again, this is the grooming. He gave her cool stuff. They send you presents, they send you candy. We did an undercover chat with HSI where we're pretending to be 12, 13 years old. These men all came to have sex with a child in Sacramento, but they met us instead. Safe Sport, anybody familiar with Safe Sport? Yeah, if you do coaching or anything like that, go to the Safe Sport. It has to talk, it's because of the gymnastic stuff going on. That it's kind of one of those things you need to be cognizant of about when your kids are doing sports. So the main goal is you just need to sit down with your kids when they're in kindergarten and literally start from kindergarten, and every single year you need to build on with age-appropriate material and talking to your children. Simple stuff, kindergarten, just be careful what you're looking at. Tell mommy and daddy if you see something you're not supposed to. Just start off really small and just build on. And there's some NetSmarts from the National Center, has some really good material that's age appropriate. So go on there and look, and it'll help you give some topics you can talk about with your kids. So we kind of already talked about this stuff. We already talked about think before you post. I'm going through this real quick. So make sure that you know your children's passwords on all of their devices. Wi-Fi, make sure your Wi-Fi is secure, because if you give your Wi-Fi password to your friend's kid who's 16, he starts downloading CSAM material from your house. Guess who's coming to your house? This has happened quite a few times. It happened to one of our deputies. We freaking were gonna go serve a warrant at her house because her friend's kid was downloading CSAM. So do not give your Wi-Fi password to anybody who comes to your house. Tell them too bad, figure it out. Keep the computers, the younger they are, in high traffic areas. Do not let your children who are, I would say, under 12 have a cell phone or iPad in their bedroom, because that's with the door shut, or at least at night, 100% not at night. Phones need to go into a certain common area in the house. No phones in the bathroom. Don't take, you know how many pictures we have of kids in the bathroom taking selfies? Obviously check their internet history. If you see that their internet history is wiped all the time, that's a clue. You should probably ask them about that. One of the things you might want to consider is there's a bunch of monitoring apps out there. Monitoring apps, you can do it through your service provider, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, or you can do it through the device, Android or iPhone. So that's 2 layers of protection, if you can do that. Then there's a 3rd layer of protection, and that's third-party apps that you can put onto your child's phone to monitor what they're doing. Now, you need to think about the laws. It's like the wiretapping laws. You can't put this on your husband's phone to track him and see what he's doing. This is for children, and even then with CalECPA laws, you have to technically ask consent of your child to put these on there. So I'm gonna have those for you at the end. Just be mindful of the things that you post, that people look at the stuff, the information in the background to be able to identify you. There's a story of a guy who used a child here in Rancho Cordova's video, got all these little bits and pieces from it, cut and pasted it, sent her a collage saying, hey, I know where you live and where your grandma lives. And then I find out that he's been doing this with other kids across the United States. So when I reached out to that agency, I forgot, Minnesota, he actually had a standoff with police and killed himself. He had sent all these letters to kids like that. So those are some things. Those are just photos in the background when people make videos and they post them on YouTube. Just make sure when you're out in public, like at swim meets, football, basketball games, you pay attention to people around you, that they're not taking photos of your children. At the In-N-Out with their phone like this, of girls in short skirts, or at swim meets. We had somebody doing that at swim meets. So just the main thing is to talk to your children, have communication. By the way, there's these gizmo watches that you can get your kids so that you can track them and you can make phone calls and text. They're very simple. This phone TrueMe is a really cool thing. You should look that up. It doesn't have social media on there, but it looks like a phone, it acts like a phone. And you can add stuff on there, just like that YouTube app, to be able to give your kid more stuff as they get mature. So if you want to take a picture of the screen, because I haven't found a way to put it all yet, I didn't have time to put them all into one page. But if you want to go, we don't recommend any specific ones, but just know what you're looking for. I'm looking for right now, I'm still maneuvering through all these. One that obviously looks at internet history, that can track the text messages. I want to know for skin tone, like if it sees too much skin tone, it'll alert you. You want ones that you can put in your own search words, that if it comes across it in anything, like curse words or sex or grooming type of words, it'll alert you. So those are some of the things you're going to want to look for when you're using a monitoring app on your child's phone. If you want to watch any shows about the internet, I found all of these. Screen Agers is really great because you can sign up for Tech Tuesday, and every Tuesday I get an email about something about the internet in kids. It's how it affects their brain, just all kinds of great stuff that I use for presentations and for myself. And then there's a bunch of other Glow Kids, Bully, Sextortion, Next Chapter. Screen Agers, hopefully, maybe we can try to get them to come here next year. That's how I started my whole thing about how it affects kids' brains and the addiction. We just have to get a screening to come here. I kind of already told you that already, that it's your phone and your service provider that can help you. If you need to report something, you can call your local department, or you can call the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, because that will come to us. And if it's an emergency, it'll come to us quicker. So if you want to report anything that's internet related with your children, you could do it online, you can make a phone call. I think those are the only 2 ways to do it. So one of the things, if you come across something, block them, you can delete stuff, but if it's something that's really bad and that we need to know about, Don't delete anything and save it so that way we can come take a report, take the device, log into your child's account so we can get the evidence that we need. And don't screen capture child pornography, child sexual abuse material, and send it to your friends and say, look what I found, or look what my daughter got. Don't do that, because you're gonna create a cyber tip on yourself. We have to tell it to our patrol deputies. Like, they show up to a patrol report, and they take the CSAM from the parent and send it to their work email. I get it, we're learning, we're trying to figure this stuff out. That's going around with the National Center has really great, all the ones that I gave you, there's so many out there, but these are like my favorite ones. Thorn is great, I love Thorn. NCMEC, NetSmarts through NCMEC, they have great stuff for children that's age appropriate, and I'm so sorry that I'm having to go quickly. So, I'm done for now.
Thank you very much.
So
And
cool.
afterwards, we will be here for questions. We did get a little bit of a late start, but I'm really excited. I mean, that could have probably went another hour or two. But our next speaker is equally amazing. So Kelly Richardson is a psychotherapist who specializes in working with teenagers and families. She's been licensed for 24 years and has a very busy private practice in Folsom. For 17 years, she wrote a teenage advice column called Teen Talk that was syndicated in many newspapers across the country. Kelly now writes a blog called Theramom, and that is written from the lens of being both a mom and a therapist. She has 3 kids of her own, a 24-year-old, a 21-year-old, a 17-year-old, who also graduates in a few short weeks. Her husband is the assistant head football coach at Sac State, and Stingers up.
Hello.
Thank you.
And I will try and keep us on time as much as I can. So I'm going to cut out a little bit of stuff that I put in here. But I'm here to just talk a little bit about internet addiction. And when we think about addiction, we think about teenagers, but we also have to realize that adults also share in that same internet addiction. Think about our own personal electronic devices, and most of the time when our phone dings, the notifications really are trivial, but there's something in us that wants to look, that desire, that need to see what that ping ding was. And it gets us and it keeps us hooked every time. And that's exactly what our teenagers experience. When we think of addiction, we typically think of things like pornography, gambling, drugs, shopping, food. However, addiction is way more intertwined in our everyday life. When you think about it, probably over 3/4 of the world's population is addicted to caffeine. And if I told you as an adult that I wanted you to start your day without a cup of coffee, many of you would say probably, I can't do it. And that's how our teenagers feel about their phones, about their electronics. When we want to understand that addiction mind, think about you not getting that morning cup of coffee or that tea. That's the same. Ever try and take away a teenager's electronics and they absolutely freak out? I mean, you think it's like an exorcism is like happening when we see them, and there's don't take away anything. I've had teenagers in my office are like, I told my parents, take away my car before you take away my phone. And that's truly how they feel. Internet addiction is an umbrella term that refers to compulsive need to spend a great deal of time on the internet, to the point to where relationships struggle, to where their health may struggle, their mental health may struggle, behavioral patterns of excessive online usage. The person becomes dependent on the internet, and they need to spend more and more time in order to achieve that same high that they got from the gaming or from the phone or from the texting or any of that. Many of the symptoms of internet addiction are congruent with the exact same signs of substance abuse in the brain. This is due to the fact that under brain scans that doctors have done, both internet addiction and substance abuse share the same neurological footprint in the brain. And so we talk to our kids, don't do drugs, be careful of what drugs. We have, remember that, this is your brain on crack. Well, now think about that. That's your kid's brain if they use the internet too much. We have to remember those things. According to the American Psychiatric Association, internet addiction can include the user needs to spend an ever-increasing amount on the internet to feel the same sense of satisfaction. If they can't go online, they actually experience withdrawal symptoms, anxiety, moodiness, compulsive fantasizing about the internet. They turn to internet to cope with negative feelings, guilt, anxiety, loneliness, depression. They spend significant amount of time engaging activities such as researching internet vendors or going on YouTube and searching different things. And where we start to see it with young people is where it starts to affect other areas of their life, such as school, relationships, leisure, what they do in their leisure, spending time with family and friends. And I'm going to add a couple other things. When we see our young kids absorbed and obsessed with their electronics, when they come home and that's the first thing they want to do, then that is something that is happening in their brain that has hooked them into thinking that there is going to be a pleasure that comes from that. And as a society, we have become a society that is expecting and tuned into instant gratification. Think about I call it the old days, but our days. I grew up where we would play Monopoly for hours, right? I mean, if you bought the Park Avenue or whatever, you're gonna play for hours. And we would all sit, and you know what you would have to do? You would have to wait your turn. And there was nothing to grab in that moment. Play a game with a kid now, in between everybody's turn, they're checking their phones. They're getting gratified. They're getting checked in. They're seeing what their friends are doing. It's constant. Their brains are constantly wired into that. And that is when we see things in the mental health world like anxiety, depression, and irritability that are we've seen connected to not only having the devices, but when parents take them away as well. Academic problems stem often from internet addiction. Dropping grades, missing assignments. One of the common things that they found is that kids are often exhausted because they're up late. I know that we have kids that sleep with their phones on the pillow next to them, just in case it buzzes, right? Because they don't want to miss something. So we're seeing this interrupted REM sleep cycle that happens all the time that is directly connected to that internet addiction. I'm gonna fast forward just a little bit. Internet addiction with teenagers shows up in video game addiction, which isn't just gaming devices, it's also on their phones. It's addiction to things like TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, addiction to YouTube videos. One survey said that teenage males are addicted to spending time online through video gaming or viewing pornography websites, versus females are attracted to chat rooms about body image, relationship issues, and cybersexual relationships with a high connection possibility to an online predator. Many teenagers use the internet as a type of coping mechanism, which makes them the most vulnerable group for internet addiction. They use the internet, they use their electronics, they use their gaming, they use their phone, all of those things to cope with feeling pressured and overwhelmed.
I never noticed much.
They use it as a way to check out when life becomes too stressful. If you want to see teenagers in a nervous environment, they're all on their phones. It's awe-striking to me that I'll have kids in my car when I would be a driver, and nobody would talk because everybody was Snapchatting to each other. And so it's become this coping device for when they're uncomfortable. Instead of having to sit with uncomfortable or learn how to be uncomfortable, they go to that binky, which is their cell phone. This generation, Gen Z, has lost the ability to handle or experience boredom. They are considered digital natives because they have grown up in the midst of technology. A study published in January of 2022 said that on average, teenagers are spending 8 hours a day in front of a screen. And this is not taking into account online learning. 8 hours, that would be like me getting in my car right now and driving straight to San Diego and being on my phone the entire time, every single day. The same study found that as screen time increased, so did adolescents' worry and stress. They also found a direct correlation in excessive screen time and eating disorders. If internet addiction caused no harm, there would be no problem. But when excessive computer usage becomes addictive, things start to suffer in their lives. And these are the risks that we as parents have to become aware of. Teenagers who engage in problematic internet are more likely to use their cell phone for cybersex, particularly through the apps that were just shared with you. And they are then being exposed to online sexual forums. And we're seeing this to minds of young children that are so impressionable. And here's the thing, you know, everybody's heard that quote, you can't unring a bell. These kids can't unsee what they see. There's no going back. The button has been pushed. One negative effect of internet addiction is that so many teenagers now refer to their friends as who they have on the online. They actually have what they call IRL friends, which is in real life, and then they have their online friends. They distinguish between the two, and a recent study showed that teenagers said that they felt they had 3 times the online friendships that they do the real life ones. And I always say, and I have to say, I do piss off a lot of teenagers in my office when I go, you mean your online friend? And they don't like that, but it's the truth, because some of them have never met that person. They don't know who they are. They consider them a friend, but they really don't know if they're a friend. Another study has shown that social anxiety is closely related to internet addiction, and it's actually more prominent in males than that is in females. One important point is to be mindful to not use our electronics as a babysitter. As we go into summer, when kids are going to be home all day, we have to take what we do today and apply it, especially in these times where they have long periods of time where they are home. During a developmental period in their time, often characterized by importance of peers, the internet, especially during the pandemic, became a lifeline. And we have to also realize that the pandemic changed a lot with internet for our children. For teenagers, it rerouted their personal interactions into the virtual world. And we understand that because we were trying to keep safe, but in the same time, we also exposed them to so many other things. The internet, especially during the pandemic, provided a sense of community that used to be placed by school and church and sports, and it connected them to friends and teachers. And really, electronics became the source of entertainment during the pandemic. And for many kids, they have not let that go. And that's where we see down to, you know, the little ones that are addicted to iPads all the way up. I think the pandemic is something we are going to have to work as a society to come back from, because I think that it created a norm that is not healthy for our young people. Because of isolation, our teenagers, they lost out on that connection. Research shows an increase in behavioral problems, lack of motivation, suicidal behaviors, depression, anxiety, irritability, and their ability to focus, all related coming from the pandemic. Adding to that, when school was online, so many kids would be able to log on and then go off and do something else on the computer. So it just fed into that addiction. So this begs the question, and I will be really quick, what do we do as parents? So before I say really quickly, and I'll make it about 5 minutes, if we want our teenagers to become aware of the internet, we as adults, we as parents, we have to do the same thing. We can't ask them to do something to put their phone down during dinner if we're on our phone. When we watch a show together, if we're sitting watching a show together, we can't tell them to put their phone down if we're on our iPad. We model to the kids how we want them to behave. So as I was writing this up, I'll just be real quickly, my 8-year-old was sitting next to me and she said, oh, please tell me you're not gonna tell them to put the phone up at nighttime. Like, you ruined my life with that, and we laughed. And I said, oh yes, I am. And she said, that's the worst thing you ever did, and we laughed about it. But for my kids, in our home, when they were in high school, at 10 p.m., the phone got put in the living room on our white bookshelf. Did they like it? No. No. Did I ever think they would? No. But guess what? My kids got a good night's sleep every night. And my kids woke up feeling refreshed. There's no in the middle of the night stuff that was happening. So every night, and we even went down to like saying, if it's not there, we gave them like a 5 or 10 minute, and if it wasn't there, then the next night, you would have to turn it in at 9:40 or 9:50. And we had to do that because we had to show them and help them know what a good boundary with their phone was. None of our kids had TVs in their room when they were younger. Actually, they still don't. They were forced to come out and join us. During the pandemic, I hung up a big giant crossword puzzle, massive one, in my living room, attached $20 to it. And whoever circled the most words got the $20. We had puzzles on tables. We had weights and jump ropes in the garage. We did anything we can to get our kids, and that's what we have to do as parents. We have to help provide some of those things to get them out of their room and away from electronics. Parents will say to me, but my kids will get mad if I talk to them about excessive electronics. And I really fight with them. What? Being a parent means you're gonna have to have uncomfortable conversations. And we are all here not to be our kids' best friends, but to be a parent. We can be a best friend when they're older. I tell my kids all the time, when we share a glass of wine or a beer, we can become friends. And that won't happen until you're 21. Uncomfortable conversations is a part of parenting, but talking to your teenager, talking to your kid, talking to your middle schooler about internet addiction can make a difference in their health and their relationships with other people and their relationship with you. And if they aren't talking to you about it, they're talking to their friends about it. Or they're hearing about it from people at school. Or they're doing things and hearing from it from some creeper in his mom's garage. So you have to be willing to have those uncomfortable conversations. A couple ways to talk to your children about the internet. One of the first things is, and I explain this to parents all the time, there's a thing that I like to call the chat window. The chat is not when they are tired or hungry or upset about something else. The chat window is when you have them in the car and they're trapped right next to you. And you can have that conversation with them. You can say, you know, while we're driving, let me just bring something up. I'm not on my phone. You don't need to be on your phone for a few minutes, and let me share this with you. I have been a part of these internet talks for a while, and I would go home. And you know what my kids always said when I shared with them? I know, Mom, I know. But guess what? I didn't stop having the conversations. I'd say, great, I'm so glad you know, but you know what, I'm gonna tell you, because it might not happen to you, it might happen to one of your friends. If it doesn't happen to one of your friends, it's gonna happen to one of their friends. And somebody at some point is gonna need you to help navigate this. So I'm gonna share with you what I learned. Get curious, ask your teenagers questions. I always say, talk with your teenager, talk with your middle schooler, talk with your elementary schooler, don't talk at them. Try and talk with them. Ask questions, ask what they're learning, discuss boundaries, talk about what boundaries are, take a technology break, discuss what you can do together. Implement a screen-free dinner hour or dinner 10 minutes or whatever time. Define some phone-free zones in your house, like the table or an hour before bed or car rides. Do you remember, my family traveled cross-country from New York to California with my brother and I singing Donnie and Marie Osmond the whole way because we were bored and we were riding in the back seat. Now, kids would just load up what's on my iPad, what's on my electronics. They're missing what's happening outside of them because it's eyes down. I talk to my kids all the time about eyes up. That's my little hashtag with my kids, eyes up. You never know who you're gonna meet. You never know what you're gonna see. But if I'm addicted to my electronics, I'm missing the world and I'm missing out on moments. Find something you can do together that does not revolve around electronics. And I don't count the TV as electronics, I'll be honest, because I think watching Star Wars, how many 15 million episodes there are, is a good thing to sit and do with your kids. You can sit and have conversations. Find an old show to watch together. Now it's fun, my daughter's high school friends, they're rewatching Seinfeld, and they think it's funny, and I love that. Find an old show, ride a bike, play cards. Tell your teenager you need a walk, or your elementary you need a walking buddy. Watch The Social Dilemma together if your kids are old enough. It's a great movie, and it's a great conversation starter. Help your child come up with things to do when they're bored. My mom would always say, if I'd say, I'm bored, she would say, a boring person is bored. Being bored is not a bad thing. It stimulates creativity, and we need to let our kids be bored. Explain words like balance, work together to help them come up with ideas of things they can do to be their best self. And to have face-to-face conversations. Encourage your kids to talk to people. When they go to events with your family, have them talk to their grandparents, have them talk to their aunts, have them talk to people. We've got to get them back into talking to face-to-face. Okay, to wrap up, if you think parenting is hard, and if you think parenting is confusing and overwhelming and frustrating and scary and exhausting, then you're probably doing something right. Don't be afraid to set boundaries, conversations, make family time a priority, monitor what your children are on, and always, always trust your gut. The very fact that all of you are here and that you are worried about being a good parent means that you are probably already one.